And away we go. What's up, shooters? Wall Street Jesus here. Your Tuesday Degenerate show. Talk about some action today, markets, sweepers, sentiment, all the good stuff as the rally continues. And things are looking quite healthy. We're going into an earnings season, a little bit stretched on the sentiment side of things, obviously, but when you have a rally like we've had, not much of any real pullback since the lows. There are going to be times when the market puts together 2-3 straight days of green, and we're going to have some heat that we're going to have to deal with. And the reason why we even pay attention to that is just because the market has, I would say less so in bull markets, in uptrends, but without a doubt into corrections, even bear markets, but less so in uptrends. The market has a tendency to smack riffraff upside the head when they get sloppy and start to lean too heavily to one side, right? They get too comfortable on one side. So when things get bearish, they sell everything they're long, and they try to dabble on the short side, and it's probably more than likely a squeeze right around the corner when you really start to see extreme readings of riffraff doing so. As opposed to what we're seeing now, okay, we've had a nice rally from the lows. There's been a lot of disbelief for a good portion of this rally, right? Nobody wanted to believe in this rally, bear market rally, the worst since 2008, blah, 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 economy. We spoke about this ad nauseum for weeks and months now. But what happens is, as the rally gets stretched, eventually those non-believers have no choice. Okay, you reach a point where you have no choice, and they start to lose faith in that bearish thesis. Okay, so even though the fundamentals still look awful to them, and the Fed is the devil, and it's all the Fed's fault, it's a rigged game, and all that stuff, right? The Fed bashing paraphernalia on Twitter. That all eventually, what happens is the bears end up giving up. All right, they at the least give up on the short side, and eventually, if they want any shot at making money, they're going to dabble on the long side. And what happens is when you reach a point where we're at now, okay, and the market puts together a couple of green days in a row, we're going to bump our heads up against extreme bullish sentiment. Okay, it's normal. It doesn't mean we're at exuberance. Okay, I don't think we're anywhere near that. I just think because of this market, the lack of pullbacks in this market, in this rally, I think our sentiment readings get a little too hot, too quick for us, for our liking. All right, but the good thing is, and this is why I don't think there's any exuberance out there, the smallest of pullbacks, all right, all of a sudden will shake out the weak hands on the bullish side and reel the bears back in. The smallest of pullbacks. All right. And as you guys said, do these even fit the category of pullbacks, right? Little breathers. All right. But this right here, if you remember on the last webinar, we were talking how this pullback, this little thing here, did a fantastic job of at least washing out the bullish extreme. Okay, we even got an elevated equity put the call into this. Okay, and why is that the case? Because what happens is, especially the early parts of the rally will happen more often. Okay, but when there's so much disbelief in a rally, especially in the face of disgusting fundamentals worldwide, okay, that's the case right now. Everybody's worried about the music stopping and this being it. Oh, We're going here it is. Up, here it is. So even, the bulls out there who want to just pay attention to price, right? You get that line they love to say, only price matters. But when price starts heading lower, even the bulls start to get a bit nervous. Okay, so it doesn't take much for them to get shaken out. And then eventually you reach a point where, where everybody expects every single dip to be bought, right? That's kind of the market we were in. If you remember back off 2017, everybody expects every dip to be bought. Even the bears have no faith in the market going lower. That's the exuberance you have to worry about. Okay, and there's no reason to even think about that ahead of time. I mean, right now, all that matters is this, and you guys hear me preach all the time. This is what we want, okay? We want these here, these little pullbacks. Okay, some may last longer than others. Some may just go sideways, right? Some may be deeper pulls. Okay, there's no way of knowing that ahead of time. But what we want to see, the money to be made off these rallies are, especially the signals we're using, the sweeper activity that comes into those breathers, consolidations, pullbacks. That's where, at least for myself, I play with the most confidence. I feel like I have the best risk reward. Okay, because right now, here's the problem where we're at right now. Okay, we had a couple days in a row of a strong rally, right? Some things rallied really hard out there. Casinos, the banks snapping back. And I worry about when, like, for example, right now we have, short-term sentiment a bit on the hot side. I worry about something like this. And I guess worry is the wrong word. I'm not concerned or worried, but I want to be able to have enough bullets to fire to take advantage of this when it comes, okay, and not get caught. Nobody wants to get caught, even in the smallest of pullbacks. All right, and the main problem is we don't know. We never know how long these breathers are going to last. All right, so I mean that's the approach. I know it gets it could get confusing at times, because we're trying to focus. We see sentiment shift so drastically. All right, but that's the edge of paying attention to these sentiment readings on a day-to-day basis. All right, it's another guide of showing us where the best risk reward opportunities are for swing trades. All right, and just again, I throw examples at you guys of how I handle things, how I trade, and anybody who knows me out there knows I don't push my agenda, my trading style, or anything like that on anyone. Okay, because everybody's different out there. But the reason why I give examples of how I use the information, how I trade off the information, is just to give you that mental picture of, so you can get a better idea how you should approach it. All right, so I'll give you an example. Today, we saw some action. All right, Facebook out of the gate, sweepers went, Uzi like right out of the gate in Facebook. And, we were talking about this in the room today. I was pretty quick on locking up my Facebook profit. It was basically a scalp for me, okay? And today, that was my goal no matter what. Of course, in hindsight, it was the worst move because this thing was a rocket the whole entire day, okay? But because our short-term, our intraday, the squeezometer, our sentiment readings were so hot going into the bell yesterday, I wanted to be as quick as possible. If anything, I was basically coming into the day thinking I might not trade anything today. As you guys know, as a matter of fact, I mentioned off the Facebook action that if we don't get some sort of breather on an intraday basis, I'm not even day trading anything more for the rest of the day. All right. And so that's how I approach it. You understand? That was my game plan coming into today. As far as swing trades are concerned, it would have to be the picture perfect sweep for me to swing something out of today's session with sentiment the way it is right now. Okay, does it mean I'm going to be right? Of course not. But that's, and I explained to you guys in the past, I get myself in the habit of doing this stuff, not because that one time it may not work and I may get away with it, but that's the purpose. I want to make it a habit. Because I know the less amount of times that I'm buying, getting long into hot sentiment, and the more times I'm buying into bearish riffraff sentiment, my P&L is going to look that much better on the swing side of things, on the swing trade. Okay, so that's my approach. Okay, that's my approach. And of course, when you're in this game long enough, things always look the best. Things always look the best when they're going up. If you're looking to get long, it's always easier to get in on a long when it's moving, right? We talked about SRPT off the bull missile recently, okay? Since the bull missile, we've talked about it several times each and every day, okay? And, we could sense it amongst a lot of people. It was just tough to buy. SRPT wasn't looking too hot. Looked dead. Market was rallying. I didn't get too many questions. Today, I got pinged 155 times. Can I, should we buy SRPT here up 5? So it's always like people wanted to see the life there. They wanted to see life. They wanted to see green there before they got comfortable. But you're going to realize if you utilize, sweepers and sentiment correctly, the most efficient approach to it would be before they come to life. You want to be in before they come to life. And then have that luxury to adjust your position or take profit, sell it when the riffraff is excited, or roll it and lock some profit in when the riffraff's excited. That's the edge out of the stuff we look at religiously each and every day, and that's sweeper activity and sentiment. And trust me, I know from experience, it's tough. It's really tough to get yourself to at least take it easy when those signals are not lining up. The reason why it's tough, and that's the reason why it works, because we're all wired in an effed up way. We're not wired to play this game like that. That's why there's such a high failure rate. Everybody wants to chase and everybody wants to get shaken out. That's how we're wired. So that's, again, because I get a lot of questions, if we don't see, like we got, some heat on the sentiment front yesterday, and if we don't see a market like unravel and fall apart the minute we see that reading, people are like scratching their head wondering if they can use these things. And you're going to realize this game's all about risk reward. All right. And that's the simple way of looking at it. Just because sentiment's hot, we're not looking for a crash. Okay, that's not, when we're looking at short-term indicators, there's short-term indicators for a reason, because sentiment can shift so drastically, so quickly. Okay, so we're looking, like right now, for example, we're looking at least for that bullish heat to get washed out, and then, pay closer attention to see what the flow is doing. If there's legitimate buying, then we want to be buyers. All right, we're going into earnings season. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. But just because I was getting a lot of questions on just a couple of different sentiment indicators we look at, and the best way to approach it to where we are now. All right, but it's normal. It is normal. Don't let anybody spook you out there when they start to talk about how bullish people are. Okay, you can even see it. You can see it on CNBC. You can watch them on Twitter. Okay, when there's exuberance. We had in inverted yield curve, and half the riffraff on Twitter, they don't even have a clue what the hell that is, but they were finding a way to make the most bearish case out of it and spook the living daylights out of people. Every inverted yield curve led to a Great Depression and blah, blah, blah. These guys are trading 6 months. They weren't even alive 5 years ago, and they're talking about inverted yield curves over the last 50 years. So we can't let that stuff get to us, and we got to focus on the signals that matter and block out all that nonsense. But the good thing is all that nonsense feeds into the sentiment, and when you get this little pullback, which doesn't seem like much when you look back at it, they end up being incredible entries. And you'll realize, a lot of the big winners, right, they come out of those pulls. They come out of those pulls for the most part because the entries are solid. All right, so that's where we are now. Okay, can the market push higher? Yeah. I mean, the playbook here now is to be quick, in my opinion. Okay, be quicker than usual. In other words, you have that profit. It's okay to play. That's the whole point I'm trying to make. It's okay to continue to play, and it's okay to hold positions. You don't want to just sell out of everything, okay? But you want to be prudent about it. All right, whether it's sizing down, being quicker on your sells, being a little more selective on your entries, whatever it is, any little thing counts. So again, you have the ammo to fire down here, and this, depending on how long it lasts, doesn't sting as much. All right, so that's what we're looking for. Just a little breather, a little shakeout, and we'll see how the flow looks going into that. Now, the other thing we got to worry about now going into earnings season. All right, so we got about, a week until the banks and Netflix and the boys start reporting. All right, most of you know what's the story there. Okay, the order flow can't be as trustworthy as it normally is because of earnings. And for the simple reason, there's a lot of hedging and protection and stock replacement going on around earnings dates. Okay, it's a fact. The odds, the probability that an order has something to do with hedging the earnings event goes up dramatically around the earnings date. Just common sense. Okay, so we never know to begin with, right, the true intent of any of these sweepers, of any of these orders. All right, but we look at the details to get a pretty good idea whether the guy's buying, betting on upside, selling. It becomes cloudier now, right? It becomes a little more difficult to get a clean read on now. So that also adds into, for me, feeds into just being a little more selective and conservative here, right? So one, I got sentiment against me. I don't have it behind me. It'd be one thing if I had it on my side right now. I don't. All right. So I don't have sentiment on my side. And we're already starting to see, as you guys who are in the room on private Twitter, we're starting to see earnings flow already, blocks, big bets and names that never catch size. And they all have to be taken with a grain of salt. I mean, is anybody, because obviously there's a lot of members on here, anybody who's a member or a new member have any questions regarding earnings and block trading and all that stuff? If you have them now, if you have a question, now's the time to ask. Because if I'm not clear about that, it's going to end up costing you money, in my opinion. Everybody's cool with it. Everybody knows exactly. I know I beat the dead horse relentlessly, but everybody's got an understanding on it. Yeah, okay. So basically what I'm saying is around earnings season, okay, which we're going into, what will happen is we'll see, let's say, a block of puts in, I don't know, let's take it, AMD, okay? So AMD has been a name that's been catching, solid sweeper activity throughout this whole rally. Okay, it's been whatever, strong name, a lot of flow. All of a sudden, we're getting near earnings season. We're starting to see, let's say, protective blocks pop up on the put side. All right. A lot of people out there will get excited, be like, oh, somebody's calling for the rally to end in AMD. There's a put buyer. Okay. Where realistically, chances are it's somebody who is likely has been long the stock, doesn't want to get out of the stock, okay, wants to hold through earnings, but's worried about earnings risk. So, buy some puts to protect against that earnings risk. Okay. Just another quick example. AMD, we'll use the same thing. Okay. AMD's going into earnings. I still like AMD, but I got nice profits. I don't like it as much as where I initially owned the stock. I own a good amount of the equity. All right, I have a lot of principal at risk. So what I might do is I'll sell my equity and then buy a block of calls. Okay, so I could sell $10 million in the stock, and I'll buy 600,000 May calls, and I'll still have some exposure. Right? So what happens now? Us, right? We're looking at the flow. We see AMD. Oh man, $600,000 bull bet, AMD. But he could be replacing stock into earnings. And what he's looking to do is take off some risk. He's not adding to risk. All right, see, and those of you who are members already know this, but those of you who are new or maybe aren't members are going to realize one thing. When it comes to the flow, there's only one thing that I'm interested in, me personally, okay? And I try to stress this to members on a day-to-day, hourly to hourly basis, okay? We only want to pay attention to the most aggressive activity and the cleanest activity there is out there. That's our bread and butter. I don't care what the rest of the people on Twitter who have services, they got their own thing. They may be successful, they may not be. It doesn't make a damn difference to me, okay? Me personally, I only want to pay attention to the cleanest and most aggressive flow out there. All right? And the reason being is, again, we don't know the true intent behind any of this order flow. None of it. We have no idea that whatever this AMD call buyer, what he's really looking for. Okay? So what I've realized over the course of my career, the smart money utilizes the option market primarily for hedging purposes. Primarily. But there are exceptions to where they're looking to utilize some leverage when they really have high confidence in a position. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, the earnings flow, earnings bets, as a lot of people call them, 99% of it is not an earnings bet. That's what people fail to realize. The smart money, so-called in quotes, right? The smart money, they're not making a habit of playing earnings. You understand? So again, I know, especially if you're not a member, it could get misleading out there, right? Because you hear one person talking about a big bet that they're picking up in a stock into earnings, and then you have me mentioning it's completely useless. I'm just sharing with you guys what means something to me. Everything else is useless for me. All right. So that's why earnings activity becomes an issue. All right. It just becomes a lot tougher to read because of earnings and the hedging and the risk of protection and everything else, stock replacement. I can't get a good handle on it. All right. So make a long story short, we're going into earnings season. We're going to be in the heart of earnings season when a lot of the big boys are reporting, and that's going to create a little confusion amongst the flow, a little uncertainty amongst the flow. So for me, even more of the reason to be a little more conservative, and that means be quicker. I already have a quick trigger, but I'm even quicker now. All right. Here's what I'm looking for, so you guys know. All right. What I like to do, because I can't stay in cash, and I don't want to stay in cash anyway. You know what I mean? What I do to keep myself entertained, and from time to time will find success when the right flows around it. I like to get in the middle of the momentum type action that's out there. All right. So, for example, Facebook, there wasn't much quality off that buying today in Facebook. Right? They were all out of the money, weekly, front month sweeps. Okay. I know, again, from my experience looking at the flow, that's not the sharp money making a bet on a name. What that is that's the money that has been left out of this rally and is looking for exposure to Facebook because they don't own it. Or that's the shorts that have been short Facebook and are getting squeezed off that upgrade this morning. That's the type of flow that was in Facebook today. All right. So that doesn't mean it can't create an opportunity, right? I don't want, off that type of flow, I don't want to make a bet longer term on Facebook. Okay. But what I want to do is I want to get in the middle of that frenzy of buying, because that's instant momentum. Instant. Okay. When they're aggressively sweeping like that, it's just so obvious. They're chasing like that, right? One after the other after the other. That's instant momentum in the stock. Okay. Some of the momentum will be stronger than others. Depends on the day. Okay. If you remember, we were talking about Twitter caught that type of activity one morning last week, and Twitter looked like it was ready to explode. It was up $1 and change. Could have had one of those days, and then the market just rolled over. All right. So obviously, the market had a lot to do with Twitter not going higher from that point. So it all depends on a lot of other circumstances at that given moment, but that is instant momentum on an intraday basis. All right. So that's what I like to try to take advantage of while I allow sentiment to soften up and I allow the flow potentially to clean up off earnings. Okay. So I'm looking to get, in off the action. And like today, I told you, today I was just quick looking to take anything I can off the table. A lot of other times, if I have sentiment on my side, I'll raise my stop. Now I'm playing the equity too. So it's a little different than what some of you guys are doing out there on the option front. I'm day trading the equity. I swing trade primarily the options. All right. So it's a little different, but there were several people who made money, actually probably did a lot better than I did on my simple scout basically on Facebook. But that's my plan B while I wait for a better setup in this market. All right. And again, that's just my approach. Can this market storm higher from here without me having enough exposure? Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I can tell you one where it did. I told you. I keep bringing this up to you guys so you know. I'm not going to lie to you. All right. Back off that 2017, this year, right? I keep showing you guys just so you get an idea. All right. I was taking that approach right around here. See that sell right here? I was taking that approach. Okay. And, look what this market did. All right. So, I still had some longs that I left behind, right? Like right now, I'm long JP Morgan. I'm long some less than full positions that I'm okay with getting caught in if I do get caught. But I'm not all in. I've taken down my risk. And all I know from experience is if a market runs through sentiment without a breather, like it did here, that's not good. That's not good. Because usually there's a tiger on the other side of the door. All right. So that's what I'm saying. We want, you don't want things to get carried away. If you're all in long, that's good. You're going to make some money, but hopefully you get out in time before they really hit you over the head. Okay. And you got to think of it logically. Again, sentiment's telling us that the riffraff is getting a little too sloppy on the bullish side. All right. The probability of the market just continuing to run higher without trying to wash them out, or without a big washout that follows, that's very rarely the case. All right, so that's why I take that approach. All right, and again, just to stress, I'm not looking for a crash. I'm not looking for a 50% haircut. I don't even have a price or a level I'm looking at. All I'm looking at is I want sentiment to at least get back to neutral, and then I could start paying attention to the flow again and deal with just earnings and that type of stuff. All right, makes sense? So, for you guys, it can mean, it could be different types of strategies, right? For you guys, it can mean you're looking to buy intraday fades, get long something and try to sell that into the rip and be quicker, right? That could be your approach of, taking your risk down a notch while you're waiting for a better setup. There's got to be something, okay? Because if you're anteing up and you're all in, no matter what, you're not going to last too long. If you can't play the game, you can't play the game each and every time, no matter where the market is, where sentiment is, where anything is, the same exact way. Because what's going to happen is you're going to make money in the rallies, and then you're going to give it all back and then some. You got to have some sort of, game plan that allows you to, pull in the reins when you need to a bit. So you can make money in a rally. Yeah, maybe you give a chunk of it back, but net, you still made money off a rally. So you got to come up with something, and that's where we are now. So it's a good time, in my opinion, to start focusing on that. Right? Start thinking about what measures you need to take. Maybe it means, putting on some protection. Right? If you're long too many positions, maybe that's what you need to do or start to look at. Right? Rolling out further in time. Because what happens too, guys, in options, right? Equities, you could hold on to the name, you could do this, do that. Options, again, we call it, that's crystal ball trading. Not only do you need something to go higher, you're predicting when it's going to happen by. All right? If you're in something 2 weeks out, you get caught in something like this, you're going to see a lot of your money disappear. Right? So if you're playing options, you have to have something in place to try to avoid it. You have to. All right, so that's good. I'm glad I actually got into this semi-rant because it's a good time now, to start focusing on that and being smart and figure out your plan B. Here are the top bets for today. Again, just a reminder, some of you who are, all of you who are members, a lot of times this top bet list, I'll just put names that are at entry points, basically. Okay, it doesn't mean I played it, right? All of them that are on this list or whatever, but for the most part, I like to stick to top bets, usually initial activity or stuff at a decent spot. But I gave you guys a heads up. Now, as we're getting into earnings season, all right, there's going to be a lot of flow out there. So I'm just going to put, the best looking orders, some of the better spots on there, just to give you guys enough names, even if you don't play them, to keep an eye on. All right. SRPT, once again, was the bet of the day, higher from where they hit it just a couple of days ago. You got another $600,000 sweep in August 150s. They open another torpedo there in SRPT. All right. This was an interesting combo right here. Not a whole lot of loot, but for this name, VST, that's a utility. All right. A lot of you guys know this name. We've traded it a couple times. Been a sweeper fave, right, in the utility sector. So the utilities got hot. They've been a hot group. Yeah, they rarely catch action like this, especially this VST, nevertheless. This guy sells the May 24 puts, takes in a quarter, and he uses some of those proceeds, buys the May 28 calls for 40 cents. So it was a net debit of about 15 cents. 5,000 times. Size-wise, that's pretty big. Dollar-wise, just an interesting bet for a name that usually wouldn't catch this type of activity. This is a Sharpie's bet, right? This is sharp activity. This is not your run-of-the-mill call buyer here playing a bull combo like that in VST. And here's the chart on. It's a good-looking stock. Good-looking stock. So if anybody's interested, you might want to take even the spot's not bad, coming off a little rally here, then some sideways chop. After this thing was scorching higher, needed to breathe, and has had a nice breather here. So that was one of the cleanest rounds of action today, VST. And you may not need the market either. So if the market does take a little breather, you may not need any help from the market in that VST. It actually may do well if the market does pause. That's a possibility. All right. Anyway, CVNA. I put this on here because it's another decent looking order. August 75s. It's not initial activity, but I'll tell you, if this bull market stays intact, right? Again, forget about little breathers. That's even more bullish to me if the market can go through some little breathers. I'm just talking about if this market doesn't roll over into a full-fledged bear market. My gut tells me this thing is going higher. Can you buy it here? I can't. And as you can see right here, my screen is telling me not to as well. But just a beast, a beast. It was catching action down here. And, I remember asking a lot of you guys in the room about it, right? You were trying to explain to me what they do. Now I know what they do. But it's like a vending machine for cars, right? I saw a commercial. It's ridiculous. Like, this is a legitimate. People really buy cars this way from this Carvana. It's that hot. So the news today, they got into the California market or something to that effect. I don't know if you guys heard. And obviously the stock really liked it. But just look at this move. Craziness. It reminds me of kind of like a Roku type momentum name. And it did it post-IPO back here, something similar. And then came in. Anyway, those of you who just like to trade off momentum, not even just off the activity, this probably should be a name you eye on dips on an intraday basis. Should be supported, for just intraday scalps and stuff. But I can't pull the trigger up here. Unless you guys like it. Some of you guys may like this is a Statue of Liberty technical pattern or something. What else we got? AMD. Oh, AMD. So here's what happened with these things. In the afternoon, market went quiet, price action went quiet, flow went quiet. And then in the middle of the day, what was it, about 1:30, guys? 2 o'clock maybe? For a good hour stretch, there were these momentum sweepers, as we call them, smaller, short-dated sweeps that started picking at select tech names. All right, and they got aggressive. Apple, which saw some action early morning with the Facebook, they came back for. You could see Apple really had a nice move. See here? Apple, AMD, Twitter saw some flow. There were a couple others. Microsoft saw a little bit of an uptick. All right, so make a long story short, Apple was one of the better of names catching the action. AMD was included in that action, and also AMD saw a couple orders like this, which weren't too small. Okay, they catch earnings. I don't know when earnings are in AMD, but the whole disclaimer thing, but decent size. These are July 27s. I don't know if they open. I'm not sure, but obviously looks bought above the offer sweep. There were several of them. And now we got the upgrade, right? Nomura upgrade aftermarket. That could have been what they were chasing. What's she up in the aftermarket? Not much though, right? What the? I can't. Oh, here we go. Oh, 36 cents. Wow, I didn't even realize. Yeah, so that's probably what they were chasing. Twitter, it was not as much in Twitter. Weeklies primarily in Twitter. Had a little bit of a move. I didn't trade Twitter at all. There were a couple of weeklies. Apple. Am I missing any other names, guys? What was any other names in the afternoon? Microsoft wasn't as much. Some of the big tech names. Yeah, ARWR, but that's not tech. No. I'm not talking about in general. I'm talking about the tech sweeper activity in the afternoon. Snap, good call. Snap was one of them. Good call. So a couple of these names like that caught action in the afternoon. And I got in the middle of some of them for a day trade. Again, you guys could look to do the same, especially into weakness. One sweep can mean anything, okay? But when they do, let me show you guys. So and you guys on private Twitter, I know, you don't have me screaming in your ears, but it's pretty. If you're looking for it, it's pretty obvious. I'll just show you the couple of them here. All right. So here's Facebook. Okay, so right here, right? 7 hours ago, what time was this? Boom, okay. See here, off the open, 9:31, right? Tiny, right? 250 lot, tiny. Sweep, but the reason why I post it, and this is, again, to answer your question, for those of you who are members, especially some of you new members ask me, why is Jesus posting a 250 lot of weekly Facebook? The reason why is this simple reason, what I'm showing you right here, I've been talking about. Okay, starts off with a 250 lot. Then what happens? Comes back 10 seconds right after 500. Oh my God, I didn't even realize my spelling there. But you get a post from me giving you a heads up. Facebook, Apple calls active. Wow, there's some bad spelling in there, but I'm on the go. You guys know that. Facebook, Apple, active off the opening bell, just to get your eyeballs on it, not to trade it, to get your eyeballs on it, possibly to trade it if you were looking at the name, right? Okay. Then another sweep. You see, taking out all offers above ask, right? And they just keep, look, they keep coming, right? We're at 937 here, right? And they're just coming, and they just keep coming. So Merrily Momo, sweeps playing with the juice, Facebook, Apple. See if you see. So that's when, again, one order, right? If it's just a 250 lot of Facebook, can mean anything, right? Or even if it's two orders, can mean anything. But once you start to see that pattern of buying coming in, a lot more than not. Again, depending on the market that day, okay, the market could roll over. That's your risk, and that's why you would stop yourself out or whatever the case. But more than not, you're going to have that momentum. You're going to have that chase where market makers are hedging off their risk. It snowballs, and you get some sort of juice there early to get in the middle of. Obviously, how long it lasts, that's the $1,000,000 question. But you know, we don't know how much of it they're going to sweep. Like Facebook, if you would have told me they would have swept the whole entire day like this, I would have sat in Facebook. But, you know, I don't know that, obviously. But it did go on the whole day. Okay. And then you got like AMD. I'm just giving you guys examples so you see, even those of you on private Twitter, so you know what to look for in these things, especially now. All right, AMD, today's not April 1st. Oh, here it is. So AMD had the afternoon for the most part. All right, and more than not, you want to pick up on it if you can earlier, just by paying attention. I try to put this out as early as possible. You know what I mean? So even if names that maybe it really didn't snowball into something bigger, but at least I'll bring it to your attention so you can possibly take a look at the name and be ready, right? Because you obviously you need to be ready to get in there and take advantage of the juice. Right, I was excited, Megan. Thank you for the excuse. I was excited. Tim is saying, which one? Oh, yeah, the Qs. And we got, you know, this full-fledged, especially the last couple of days, chase going on out here. Look at these. There's been more, I think, of the chase for exposure in ETFs than I think in individual names. And that's usually where it starts off. But look at this Q bet today. You want to see? Look at this sweep. My God. Look at this guy. What the hell is that guy doing? And let me see. There was others. I like the sweeps in the ETFs that they fire a machine gun after. See, because this is when this is why I worry on some of the sweeps. This guy is yesterday, right? Yeah, yesterday. You know, so you wonder sometimes if these guys are rolling. I like to see multiple orders. IWM caught some of that today. Let's see. Wasn't there a big guy yesterday? I think that might have been him. SPY too. Hold on. There's some good looking SPY bets too today. Not, you know, interesting looking, I should say. Where is he? There are a couple. Hold on. I got to track them down. So much damn action. Where the hell is it? Oh, this one was the one I was looking for. May 303 calls. So this guy going for the 3,000 plus. Yeah, there's bullish flow all over the place in these things. And IWM too. All right, let me quickly, did I go over the top bets? Because that's the most important thing I wanted to go over action-wise, and then I'll go over some of your names. I got everything here? AMD, good. Yeah, those are the four. Quickly, if you guys want to take a look, those of you who maybe aren't members, some of the size out there, By the way, who caught? Please tell me, somebody out there, please. Anybody was in a swing thinking their day may never come? Anybody out there? Nobody? I wasn't. Anybody own this win off that big sweep? Almost me. Yosti, that counts. Not in your pockets. Oh, you're all right. LVS too, Prit. That counts. LVS had big action as well. That counts. Yeah, the win, Tim was talking about it on the webinar, if you remember too. And they gapped it up on Monday just to screw him. Yep. Just to screw him. But, and here's the thing, okay? I had to, Tim, you have enough winners, I can rub salt in your wounds. So here's the thing with this, okay? Like, me, I'm a little more selective when it comes, especially swing trading, okay? Because I'm doing a little bit of both. The only thing that held me back, I'm being honest, was this. Earnings. Again, I don't even know if that's the right date, the 24th. All right, but earnings were coming up. I mean, you had a little bit of time. All right. Otherwise, there was nothing. I mean, look where the sweep came. This is ideal, right? Even if you're early, see, I don't mind even if I'm early. Yeah, there was an order. I'll show you right now, Moon. Hold on. I like those questions, Moon. I like Moon's asking what was the sweep that got us interested, and I'll show you right now. I think there were two of them, to be honest. Let me get this thing up. Here's the one. Let's see. Oh, don't even tell me. Oh, here it is. Right? No. Look at this. I can't go back. Maybe it's on the board. I can't go back in private Twitter today. It's in one of those moods. Here it is, Moon. Freaking pirate Twitter. Yeah, Tim, they can't see that. I wish they could see it. They can't see what you're writing there. What do you pay? 1014. Tim is saying. 1014 they paid for these. So you see the size there, multiple exchanges. Stock was 123, close to the money, June's. Everything about that bet is good looking. Now, and here's the thing. He was a bit early, but that's okay. You know what I mean? That's why I try to stress to you guys. It's okay. You rather be early than late. That's what I mean. Chasing, you have a better chance of being late. Early, you're down for a couple of days, whatever the case may be. That means nothing. Because look what happens when they click. I remember AMD, same thing. Caught a pair of good-looking sweeps. He was a bit early, or she. Could have been a she. And that was this dip? Yeah, it was this dip. Unbelievable. So I think they came in on this day, if you remember, AMD, into the weakness. All right? So there, you were a couple days early. You have to sit through a little drawdown. And then, bing! Oh, some more losers. But I'm just, they're, we don't see movement right away. We get antsy. Anyway. Yeah, so you had the Wynn and Las Vegas Sands, two beauties. I know. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing, too. Remember, we were talking about stop losses? We were talking about that on the Saturday webinar, too. The Wynn calls Tim was saying we're down 50%. 50 from that entry. So they were 10, he paid. They got down into five and change, right, Tim? 550. So let's say even you didn't get it at the low, whatever, it was 6 and change. And then where they close today now? What they close at? 12? Over 14, Tony saying. Wow. Wow. Yep. And there was some smaller activity around it too. So anyway, spilled milk. I was just curious to see if any of you guys caught the trade. Print LVS was nice too. So pat yourself on the back. That was real nice. Even this one that I hate trading, MLCO, but caught some action. This is my least favorite one off the sweeper activity. I like Win and LVS. Like this one and MGM, I don't play as much. Oh, MGM really didn't even do anything. All right, fire some names at me here. Again, may not be set up right now, but names you guys are looking at. I know, like you guys like that AMRN that caught some action. Again, repeat action. AMRN. That looks decent, right? A lot of flow in this AMRN. Zyne. No, I don't think so. Zyne, Z-Y-N-E. Let me see. I don't think, George, I'll take a look. Maybe some smaller flow. I don't remember seeing anything crazy there. What other names? What about, I'm trying to think of some names that we were talking. Anybody catch the squeeze on this guy? Ani, you catch the squeeze? VKTX? You had a nice, you had a big short in it, huge short position, and some sweeper activity. This VKTX. AXSM. Yeah. They were call spreads, right? In this thing? AXSM. Look at that run. Some of these things got hot. Oh, I got another good one that a couple of you guys thought was dead wood. ABBV. Good old ABBV. But honestly, like ABBV, I traded it. Was a decent squeeze initially, even before sitting through that sideways. If you remember, they were hitting into the lows here. And then you got this turnaround, which was, profitable to say the least. And then breather here, and we continued to see some flow, and they got the pop. ABBV. And before earnings, too, which is good. What else? Throw some names. Oops. Throw some more names you guys are eyeing. Or anybody who's not a webinar. Anybody who's not a member interested in any flowing, curious about flowing any names? I'm trying to think while you guys post here. ASHR, yep. Caught some repeat buying again today. Even this thing, slow. What a mover. Ani's got a good question about how do you determine slow-moving stocks to fast-moving stocks. I guess it's experience trading them, to be honest, Ani. I guess that's what it comes down to. Just playing them in the past and knowing, like FCX weighs 100 tons, and post-IPO names can really move. Yeah, you get used to playing them. And you can see a lot of times when they look choppy like this, you got to be prepared. You know what I mean? You got to be prepared. When they got that choppy look towards them and you're trying to catch a big move out of it, like look at it. We were talking about this CCJ, right? Like if you chase rallies in this thing flow, no flow, I don't care what the hell's going on. This is the most frustrating stock in the world. Look at this. But if you buy, if you see sweepers off a pull, you can look at it the other way and say this is a great trading stock. And we've seen sweepers support this name. So, some people may like the small ones. Yeah, FCX, because you know what it is? There's a lot of flow. It's widely owned. You know what I mean? There's a lot of stock out there. It's a lot of hands involved. So you really need a lot of buying for this thing to move. Now, I remember once, right here, and of course, I swear it was everybody in the room. Freeport caught like two missiles. I'm not talking about the action we see in Freeport now. I'm talking about two, no doubt about it, bull missiles. Okay? Right here. And here was the beauty of it. We were all eyeing it already for an entry off this breather from earnings. Okay? So we were all looking for FCX flow. And then all of a sudden, two missiles, bink, bink. All right? And we all expecting a rough ride. Like, even with the missiles, it was a tough to get ourselves to buy it. But we bought it. We had to. Make a long story short, as soon as this thing popped, we got out of it. And look at this. We couldn't believe our eyes. We couldn't believe our eyes. That was the only time I've ever seen this FCX really gallop. Other than that, a lot of pops and drops like this. Look at this. Pop, drop, pop, drop. A lot of hands involved. Eye in the gap on Take Two. Have you seen what's funny? Take Two, I did not see, and Take Two is one of my favorite to trade of them. ATVI, we saw action in yesterday. ATVI had some spec activity yesterday. Yeah, Ani, one ramp and you to have a nice sized position and willing to catch it like that, set you up nice. Yeah, so ATVI little spec action yesterday. That's all I saw. Nothing really jaw dropping out of it. The banks, I don't know about you guys, but I'm actually pissed off this bank rally. I'm in JPM, as you guys know, September's. All right, I sat through this rally. I didn't take it. I sat through this pull. Now I'm back somewhat into the green. And what I was hoping for is this thing hang around here or lower post earnings, and we see them come back. And then I would either add to JPM or finding another bank. Nothing too fancy. Maybe Citigroup or Bank of America, if it catches some flow. But so I don't want, this is okay. You came back now. I'm good with that. I'd rather it not go too far before earnings, so maybe we have an opportunity, because these banks have been left for dead. It's easy now to say, but it almost like you knew there would be buyers sooner than later, just because of how sentiment. You see, when sentiment's washed out, like it's so washed out, there had to be somebody coming in here buying this. These things nobody wants the banks. Nobody. Is Amazon cooked? That's a good question. I don't think so. I think here's the issue with Amazon. I think it'll float higher. Okay, may not run away, but there's that possibility. Up until like Netflix earnings, and then I think the reaction off Netflix pretty much will determine how this thing may react. Because like if there is a positive-ish Netflix reaction, you're gonna have people scrambling for these things. You're gonna have people scrambling for these things. Yeah, we talked about Win, Ronchero. Did you catch it? Literally 2 minutes ago, we covered Win. Did you? No, I'm saying, did you own it? I didn't own it. I know. Yeah, we got a lot of frustrated people in here who were stalking. Somebody has the LVS, so I feel good for them. But yeah, Win Now is done. Like this is more of cooked. I don't think Amazon is cooked. I think Amazon, the opportunity there now, on red days. I'd be careful chasing green because it may get a little grindier now. That's all. It may get grindier. But I think there's still interest to own this thing into the number. Then after the number, God only knows. It's in the hands of the earnings gods. But you still get that grind, and I think if you get these pulls, like let's say market takes a breather tomorrow, you get a little pull, you can look for entries into that, and then when she snaps back, you can look to dump it, or you size down and look to milk a run up into the Netflix. When's Netflix? Next week? But I think earnings April 16th. Yeah, I think earnings are the risk. Again, I don't mind the market pulling back. I think that would be a good thing, the market taking a little breather. You're going to have earnings and reactions to earnings here. It's going to be all over the yard. I think that'll be a good thing too, because I think it'll set up some opportunities in names off earnings that there may be weakness, like we've been seeing. But yeah, I don't think Amazon is cooked. And by the way, for those of you who are not members, Amazon caught a whale of a sweep again yesterday. Look at this bad boy. Yeah, the only thing I'm not crazy about with these type of bets is short dated, believe it or not. Yeah, some of you may like it. It's just harder to get a gauge on, what he's playing for. What kind of move he's playing for. He's looking for, obviously, this is a short-term bet. It's a short-term bet. So, when's earnings in Amazon? Wait, Amazon's before Netflix? Yeah, I agree. I think he's just playing the rip. I was getting ready to say the rip up until Netflix. Right. Exactly. The 24th. Yeah. I think he's playing the grind higher into Netflix. That's what I think. My personal opinion. But yeah, in the spot, obviously, we not initial activity, has seen decent sweeper activity, with a little lift. Amazon has had some half decent action. I like sweeps like that. I like with the Tesla, like at that spot. I want them to nail a turnaround on the sweep like that. Like that's where I have the most confidence. Like here, I don't. How do we know? Like you could say, oh, we can look at open interest, see if he closes them. You don't know if he closes. You don't know if he rolls. You don't know if he's shorting stock against it. We don't know what he's doing. We don't know what he's doing. So it's hard to get a gauge. 1,600 Amazon sold too soon, but it keep Amazon runners. Yeah. Well, Amazon had a decent sweep lower too, right? I don't know what month that was. I forget. but they've had some decent action, these things. What else we got? Any other names? Oh, ARWR. I did not discuss that. I saw the order there late day. I like the setup better than the order, to tell you the truth. But what's the story here, George? Yeah, it's a block. So, I'm not as excited. But like you mentioned, it's in an unusual name. There's no data. Yeah, I looked at it, I like this. But yeah, George, you make a good point. It is an unusual name. It can catch sweeper activity. But if you like the name, for a trade, if you like the name and you see an unusual block there, because a lot of these names may not even catch a lot of sweeper activity, you could use it as a confirmation. I just wouldn't trade it off the flow itself. You know what I mean? I would never trade a block off the flow itself. Like, make sure you like that name and you were looking for just some sort of momentum confirmation or something. But yeah, it looks good. It looks really good. Had this nice rip here, overextended, finally cooled off. Enough too. Rode common from 20 down to 5. Oh my God. And now you're back at 20 here, or you got rid of it? Sold at 15. All right. These biotechs are nuts. Yeah. And, little by little, again, biotechs, we've been seeing some flow, right? We've been seeing some flow. Like ABBV caught several sweeps, SRPT, 2 missiles now. The little ones, VKTX. There's been some nice setups there too, spot wise. Definitely. So, and that's another thing too, Ani, as you know, the good thing about biotechs is that during earnings season, they're almost better to play, right? Sometimes you see the rotation into biotechs because they don't have necessarily that earnings risk. So that's why you see rotation there sometimes. But yeah, again, as long as we're all taking the approach, you know what I mean? Be quicker, treat. We can't put it. The point I try to make with this earnings stuff, you can't treat the flow the same way you would if we weren't in earnings season. That's the most important thing. No matter what the performance is off the current ones, over the long haul, the clean action with no earnings relation, that's where you want to make the bang, and that's where you're going to make the bang more than not. You don't want to get beat up or some size action that's earnings related, because it's not the same. 340, yeah, that's what was interesting about this VKTX. You had a huge short position. One of the shorts came out public that he was looking to add to his short. And, we were talking about it. Like, it was catching sweeper activity. You could almost sense that this guy, they were going to run him over. This could get crazy too, right? If this gets loose on him, it could get crazy. I posted it. It was like last month. I was going to say I could dig it up. Not today, I can't, because private Twitter is in a bad mood. Let's see. Can I dig it up here? No. There was something called Bloomberg. It was a Bloomberg piece, Ani. I could try to find it for you, and I'll post it. It was definitely a Bloomberg piece. All right. All right, guys. Anybody else have any names to add? You know, the other thing too, like you see what this market is doing. You see like the software names. What have they been doing the past couple of days? Quiet, right? Silent. And they were the hottest thing out there. They were the hottest thing out there. And look, Twilio. Yeah, so these tomorrow you may get like the market flattish down a little bit, and you may see them rotate into this for a day or two. You know, because I don't see this market selling hard before earnings start to take off here. I don't see it. Yeah, a little pullback maybe, but anything not much more than that. And I think they'll buy a pullback anyway. CAMT. This sounds familiar. Why? Is this a semiconductor? This looks interesting. Is this a semi? What is this? By the way, there's been some. It is a semi. Yeah, it has a decent look to it. The semis in general. Did you see the action in this thing the last couple of days? What do they want with this? This looks so good too. Look at this. Big rip, right? Big rip off the bottom with the semis. Runs into a niner up here, hot. Look at this. What a beautiful. Look at this. The only problem, the good-looking sweeper wasn't here. Came in on this day. Gapped up $1.60. I couldn't get myself to pull the trigger on it. Even though, you know, this is not that big of a deal, even if it pulls back a little bit, you know, because the spot was so good off this pull. But now they swept her here. They swept her yesterday. A little more action there today. They like this one, MCHP. All these semis have been catching flow, all of them. You know, earnings, and it wasn't the good-looking action didn't catch earnings, which, you know, are in May. The initial one was an April sweep. Yeah, biotechs, Ranchero, we spoke about a couple. The best action out there by far has been SRPT. Obviously had an update today, and, you know, some smaller ones, but I would, yeah, good looking action. I would definitely keep my eyes open for biotech action because there's been a good amount out there. And some of the better looking spots out there have been in biotech, you know, coming off breathers. You know, the rest have been smaller ones, some repeat activity like this Amarin, which looks good. You know, off a little lift here, but breathing. But yeah, I would definitely keep an eye on biotech action into earnings season because they like to rotate there. All right, guys. For those of you who are members, I'll post all the updated stuff and the sentiment stuff when I get home after dinner, when they update, I should say. The rest of you, anybody who's new, if you have any questions on any of the lingo or anything I've mumbled about today, wallstreetjesus.com, go to here, strategy, click, and you got these short, easy to read blogs, basic, going over the basics to, you know, a little more in depth in how we use the most of this information. All right. And if you have an interest, we've been offering this for a while, 3-day free trial, no credit card. You get access to the whole premium package. All right. And then it's $225 with 50% off the first month after that. If you're interested in just private Twitter, you go right here, products, private Twitter feed. And for $59.90 a month, you get private Twitter. All right, everybody. Thank you for showing up. I'll see you, most of you guys tomorrow. The rest of you have a great evening. Yeah, and the Yankees are in trouble here. The Yankees are in trouble. Ranchero. I'll talk to you guys later.